Welcome back to another episode of Motivate with Coach Camp. I, of course, am your host, Coach Camp, and we are down here in this bulbously beautiful studio of SRP with Mr. Derek Michaud. All right, guys, here's where we are. I had a really amazing experience a couple weeks ago. And I've been thinking about how I would come on and share that on the Motivate with Coach Camp show. And I got to tell you, there was a lot of things I took away from that week that I was there. And I feel like there's a lot of things that I can actually infuse into my listening audience, my viewing audience. And then the folks that actually were on the show with me, they're going to probably resonate with a lot of the things I'm about to share with you. So for those of you that don't know or you're not aware, I was on a reality competition type TV show. It's going to air on Amazon Prime. I'm not exactly sure of the exact release date. They're in season 10 right now, and I was on season 14. Now, if you're wondering what was this show all about, I'm about to tell you that. It was entrepreneurs, and I just happened to apply from a click. It was going through my feed, and I see it. I'm like, let me sign up for that. Lo and behold, I end up on the show. It's amazing. And there were 113 different businesses from all over the United States, and we were competing as a business, but we were taking classes, and then they would give us a task, and then we would do pitches and stuff like that. So anyways, if you're into entrepreneurship and you're into businesses, you will probably like the show. If it's not your gig, I get it. But nevertheless, there were a lot of takeaways. There were some real big moments that I experienced personally on a very, very personal level. And I'm like, man, if I felt that, I know that I'm not unique in a way, so I'm going to have to go out and I need to share this. I need to share this with my audience. And so when I showed up, I will tell you, I am, as Coach Camp, I am competitive. Okay. I do like to win. I do like that. At the same time, sometimes winning isn't necessarily coming out in front of everyone else. It is, you grew in that moment, you grew yourself. You had an opportunity to challenge who you are, where you are in your life, and then have growth moments. And that is winning, believe it or not. That's how I truly see it. And so many things were taken away from that week. I'm like, dude, don't keep that. That's wasting the moment. Share that with people, because I promise you are about to hit. It's like if you're listening, and I don't care where you are in your life right now. I mean, like if you're in school, if you're at a job that you just started, or you're thinking about leaving a job, they're going to ring true. I know they are. So check it out. All right. So when I get there to this place, I'm thinking to myself, I feel very confident in who I am. And I know what my business is doing as motivational speaking, positive platform, podcasting, etc. But I really don't know a lot about the business side of things. And so I figured there's going to be a lot of growth in that. And at the end of day one, it's a funny thing because I'm not shy. No secret there. I'm not a shy person, but I do feel at times like maybe I don't fit in. And I don't let that really sink in too much and affect who I am, but it is still there. It is still a feeling and an emotion that happens. And so at the end of day one, I really was not feeling adequate. I was really feeling like I didn't belong. I was feeling like I made a mistake, and I was thinking about maybe I should just go home. Man, I was like, whoa, wait a minute. What does that say to others? When I'm up here telling everybody else, you've got to face your fears. You need to go outside of your comfort zone. You got to challenge yourself. And then here it is. I'm finding myself in a very uncomfortable place, not feeling like I fit in with these others, and feeling like maybe I made a mistake. And so maybe I should just throw the towel in. So I had to hearken on some memory. I had to think about some areas that I had been in my life that related, that I was very uncomfortable. And maybe I felt like I had made a mistake. So one of those places was my 50-mile run. And if you've not listened to that, that is a podcast some months back. So go back and check it out. In that 50-mile run, it took all of about 20 minutes for me to start questioning everything about why in the world did I show up there. And it's kind of funny because in that moment, I felt like I was okay walking away from it. But I did that one thing that I like to do. I asked myself, can you go a few more steps? Can you just go a little longer? Can you just hang on a little more? And I did. And that time led to me going a little further, a little better, a little longer. And then, of course, the rest of the story is obviously I made it. So that night when I'm sitting in my hotel room and I'm trying to figure out what the next best move is for Coach Camp. I asked myself, why are you going to leave? Why did you even come? What's your why? Why are you here? And I said, well, to challenge myself. Again, talking to myself, it's okay. It is okay. You should do this occasionally because it's called self-reflection. And I'm like, well, I came because I wanted to challenge myself. And I came because I knew that whatever this week held in front of me, it was going to be something I could grow from, I could learn from. The rest of it would take care of itself, whatever that was. The competition, if I would win, I would lose. If I looked stupid, whatever, I was just willing to give it a shot. And so I had been to this point. And not only that, I started thinking about those people that believed in me. I started thinking about the people that had helped support me to get to that point, because my wife had to pick up the slack around the house. She had to take the daughter to school. She had to take care of the animals, things that I normally would do. She had to kind of step into that place and do that herself. Well, all of these things. And then of course the people at work, and they had to cover classes for me. I'm like, not only am I going to let myself down, I'm about to let all these people down around me. And to me, that was a heavier weight. You know, it's almost so easy for us to let ourselves down. But once you start to put yourself in a place where you feel like other people are counting on you or they need you, you really don't want to let them down. And that to me was kind of like, that was the moment. That was the moment that clicked. This is the title. I go a long way sometimes before I get to the starting point. And what I came up with is, you need a balance between imposter syndrome and arrogance. It is wrong to be on either end of the spectrum. You should not feel like you're not worthy. You should not feel like that you're not capable. And at the same time, you should not feel like that you're better than anyone else. So the balance is somewhere in between. You have to find that area to where you know that there is going to be some pitfalls, and there's going to be some setbacks, and there's going to be some difficulties and bumps in the road. And you should challenge yourself. And whenever things start to become easy, you should realize growth is starting to stop. You need to push yourself a little more, whatever area of life that is, because that's how we truly grow. And that's how we truly inspire. At no point in time has anyone ever done something that took zero effort, nothing from them, and then they inspired everybody else. It's like, I literally didn't have to work hard at any of this, and I accomplished this thing. And everybody's like, wow, I've got to do that too. That is not it. Okay. I immediately clicked with the idea that this is going to be hard. This is something I'm not familiar with. That's why I need to do this. So I did. I wrote down some things. I'm not usually a script person, but I didn't want to forget these moments, because whenever I was sitting around contemplating if I wanted to really do this episode, and I was justifying in my own mind how this could help somebody, I knew that there were some points I needed to make sure I made. So I wrote them down, okay? So let me just read some of this to you. I said, the difference between something that is successful and something that is not is someone's willingness to try. Think about that for a second. If you never try anything, how will you be successful at anything? So you really got to push yourself to do something. Maybe you don't even see a pathway forward. Whatever. It could be education. It could be a job. It could be an accomplishment. Maybe you've only ran a 5K. And in your mind, you cannot even start to visualize what it could look like to do a half marathon. How are you going to know if you don't put yourself out there? And I promise you, if you try and you fail, guess what just happened? You just learned a ton. And if that's something you want to go back towards, you now have some tools in the toolbox. You now have some things that can help you become successful the next time around. So it's real. That is a real thing. You really got to put yourself in positions to fail sometimes, because that's when you're going to learn some things that you should have basically grown from in that moment. So the next time you try whatever that is, maybe you're successful next time. All right, let's move to the next thing. Regardless of your accomplishments, why is it sometimes we still find ourselves doubting our abilities or what we are even capable of? So thinking about the accomplishment, thinking about the fact that you just finished an Ironman. Maybe you just finished a 50-mile race, Coach Camp. Maybe you finished those things. The next time you go to challenge yourself with something, why do you have doubts? Why do you look in the mirror and think, what you're not capable of. Because believe it or not, I do that. I'm no different than anyone else. I'm just the same. I'm human. And so we all have those self-deprecating moments where we're thinking to ourselves, it's not possible. And we've not even tried. You know, the fear of failure is the greatest failure of them all. So many times we talk ourselves out of doing something that we should have done just because we were afraid of failing. I'm blowing my own mind. I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, you tell other people these things and you've literally applied it to your life so many times before. And here you are yet again falling into that same rut, falling into that same mindset. Whew, bro, look, this is real. This is like a real conversation, okay? I'm just talking directly to my viewers and my listeners. It is something that I had to battle myself. Okay, just a couple of weeks ago. This is not unique. So if you see me out there doing something, being successful at whatever, being successful at a podcast, being successful at a speech, you need to know that I have those same doubts. I have the same imposter syndrome all the time. So you got to know your why. Why did you start? Why is it important? Why are you even here? I got news for you. You have a purpose. You do. Every single person has a purpose on this earth. And you better believe that. Believe it with all your heart. And everything you do is not always going to be equated to your purpose. There's going to be plenty of times you put yourself in a position or a situation and you question why you're there, but you do it anyways. And what you come to find is you just got tools from doing something that is not going to ultimately be your passion, but those tools you just received from at least attempting that thing is going to help you down the road when you do go after something that is your passion, that is your purpose. So never waste that moment. And I didn't want to waste that moment. It became evident to me early that I was not going to win the competition. I just didn't have the skill set that the other people had. That's fine. But what I wasn't going to do is check out on me, because I knew along the way I was about to gain some stuff. I was about to pick up some tools that I could use. And I don't even know. There were things I learned. There were contacts that I was able to make with other people. I don't even know how it's going to come to fruition yet. But I know that it will. I know that it mattered. I know that it was important. And that's the way you should live your life that same way. Get up every day and go out the door and know that whatever it is that you're about to do, you are going to be given something along the way. That day you are going to earn a moment that can help you, and who knows when. Who knows when it's going to be applied? Who knows when you're going to wake up one day and you're going to think back 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago and say, man, whenever I tried this and it didn't work, I was able to navigate the difficult time. I was able to figure out whatever that was in that moment that made me feel that way, that was inadequate. And now whenever I'm out here in the world and I'm doing this other thing now, I can hearken back on that, because that's what I did with the 50-mile race in that moment on the blocks. I look back and I said, camp, keep moving forward. Was it that serious? It was serious enough that I thought about driving home. I didn't do it. I didn't drive home. I stayed and I fought. I did what I would tell someone else to do. I took my own advice. You know, whenever we hear somebody say, do as I say, not as I do, it holds no weight. It's actually the laziest type of person you can find. They know the right way, but they choose not to do it. There's no inspiration there. Dude. So, what causes this? What causes this feeling of inadequacy? What causes those emotions to stir up, even if you've been successful time and time again? Where does that come from? I wrote down some words. Anxiety. It's a real thing. As a paramedic, I saw it. Depression. It's easy to fall back into. I've had friends that have been madly successful in many areas of their life. And every time a couple bad things happen, they sink back into depression. And it could be anything that triggers it. And anyone can be susceptible to it. Stress. Mental state. I want you to think about that one for a minute. Mental state. When you wake up, do you immediately see all of the bad in the world? Or do you just recognize that there is bad in the world, but you're going to find the good? Because you see, I know people that their whole life seems to center around looking toward the negative. They can't see the positive for 5 seconds, but they can dwell on some negative all the time. Believe, and I may mess this up, but there's a quote that says, every pessimist finds failure and opportunity, and every optimist finds opportunity and failure. Hopefully I didn't jack that up, but you get the premise. Your mental state, our history, which has built our perspective, the things that we've been through before. We can use those moments, even if they weren't great, to build possibility for the future. But I think a lot of times what we end up doing is, if we've had some falls, we've had some setbacks, we use that to kind of project the outcome of the next thing that comes our way. And then we find ourselves not really either giving it all that we have or just checking out completely. So you have to understand the things you've been through, they do build blocks toward the next thing. Is it going to be something you're going to use to be successful? Or are you going to lean on it to justify your failure? This is real stuff. Self-worth. You know, that's a very broad one. When I wrote that down, I couldn't even put into articulation where that all comes from. I think there's too many avenues. I think there's too many avenues that build or tear down our self-worth. You know, it's experiences. It's people. It's the value that you develop within yourself. It's a tough one. And you can have it one day and lose it the next. Last couple of things. We have insecurities, and oftentimes we have those because of the doubts from others. Now look, I realize I'm wired a little different maybe in some areas. Maybe. Could be normal and just other people are not as expressive. That's fair. But when I find that somebody doubts something in me, I find strength in that, oddly enough. If a person comes up and tells me you can't this, I am going to, if it's something I'm interested in, because I don't just take dares all the time, but if it's something I'm truly interested in, I will do everything I can to prove you wrong. Because that is fuel for me. But I realize not everybody has that. That's not the fire that's always lit. I had a story once of a girl on my softball team, and she had tried out for a high school team. And she'd come to practice the day after, and she was moping. I could see that she was not happy. And I go over and I talk to her for a second. And I ask her how things went. And of course, it's kind of what I thought just by her actions. She had not made the high school team. And I said, well, now you are facing something that you have to ask question toward. Are you going to use this moment to be gasoline that pours on a fire, or are you going to let that be the water that puts it out? Confidently, she said, that's the water that put it out. I didn't have anything else to say at that point, because what I understood was there's nothing I could have said. You see, we make up our own minds. We have choices that we have to make. They have to be personal to us. Our self-value, our self-worth, our ability, it is built off of what we believe is possible for ourselves. It is that simple. We need people in our corner. You need people to believe in you. But in the end, it doesn't matter how many people you have in your corner, and it doesn't matter how many people believe in you if you never choose to believe in yourself. And that, my friends, is the balance. That's the balance that you have to carry. Because if you just believe in yourself arbitrarily and you never prove to yourself what you're capable of, well, then that could start to stem on arrogance. If you constantly have no belief in yourself and you're always downtrodden on who you think you are and what you can do, well, that's where the imposter syndrome can take over. So you have to have a balance. And that balance is cultivated over time. It's cultivated over experience. It is brought about through your own personal challenges that you have to put before yourself. And a person might think it's arbitrary. A person might think there's no relevance to doing things that are difficult, that you choose to make it difficult whenever you didn't have to. But I would argue that those are the moments where you're building that tenacity that's needed. This is why I chose a little over 2 years ago to do a minimum of 2-mile run every single day of my life. Every day, no days off. Get up, I'm running 2 miles. I get up, I'm running at least 2 miles. I may run more, but I'm never running less. And I got to be honest with you. I didn't even understand at the time how significant that was going to end up being, because it's hard to really wrap your head around if you've not been there. There are days you wake up and you just don't feel good. There are days that you wake up, you just don't have the time. But when you force yourself into a position where it is not an option, no matter what, you are going to do that thing. You start to realize that you have a way of prioritizing, you have a way of accomplishing things that you did not see a possibility toward, and you did it anyways. And I use that every day of my life. So every day I'm going to run 2 miles, and one day I won't be able to, for whatever reason that might be. It might be an injury. It could be severe bad health or something. Who knows? But for the moment, that day has not come. And so every day when I finish my 2 miles, I will voice out loud. And if you're around me, you will hear me say it. And then I want you to think, oh, I know what he's doing. I will always say one day, but not today. And so that's my challenge to you. My challenge to you is to set up some goals, set up some challenges that are difficult, not easily met, something you have to dedicate yourself to, something you have to prioritize. And every day you get up, you make yourself think about that and you go through that process. Because I promise you, you're building strength that you don't even know that you're doing at the time. All right. So last pieces of this before we wrap up. And I had to write some notes. There were too many things I knew that I would hit on some of it, but I didn't want to forget it. So when I'm talking to you about those individuals out there that sometimes want to see you fail, I want you to know that it's because those people oftentimes have trouble seeing the possibilities in themselves. And so it's easier to drag someone down than to prop someone up. So if you are in that position and you are trying to better yourself, you are trying to create an environment of challenges that you can meet, when you do those things, I want you to think about 2 things. One, if you have people that are not pulling for you, or they're just waiting for you to slip, or they can't wait to tell somebody about how you failed at whatever that was, take that as a compliment. Hard to do, right? Take it as a compliment, because really what that says to me is that they see what you're doing is relevant and it matters. And so whenever you're trying to do that thing and you do slip or fall down and they just relish in that moment, know that it mattered enough to them that they wanted to see you fail. And it's easy for somebody to want to see someone else fail than it is to prop them up, because see, if you start to become successful, for those people that are closest to you, sometimes that means that they have to do some evaluation. And now they're having to think to themselves, maybe I'm not challenging myself enough. Pushing themselves out of. So that's the thing. It's like, oh, I don't want to leave my comfort zone. I see so-and-so becoming successful. Maybe they'll fail. Then we're just the same. They shouldn't have even tried to begin with. Yeah, that's true. It happens that way a lot of times. So what I started doing was realizing, one, I'm not doing this for them. I'm doing it for me. Whatever that thing was, the 2 miles every day as an example. 2, whenever you are successful, because you will be, you stay focused, you work hard. And if you fall down, you get back up and you keep moving forward. Here's what I'm going to say about that. Use your success to inspire others. You don't climb the ladder to look down on other people. You climb the ladder to show them it's possible. And then you reach back and you grab that person's hand that's trying to follow in your footsteps and you pull them up. And when they are successful, you cheer their success. You show them it mattered. Because I promise you, that's the full purpose of why you're doing what you're doing. It's not just so that you can feel good about yourself. That is important. But it is also as important that you pass that on. So with your successes and the things that you choose to battle through and you keep fighting, you keep moving, don't forget there's people behind you watching. And there's going to be some on one side that they just can't wait for you to fail. Well, good for them, because they sure are going to be disappointed when you just keep going. And so those people coming behind you that care about your success, they want to see you successful because that's where they're going to get their strength from. Know that that is why you're doing what you're doing, because they're going to come up behind you and they're going to say, look, man, I would have never thought to do this, but I saw you doing it. And it made me feel like I could. And that's the truest reward you can ever get. I know. I'm living it. Family and friends sometimes are not going to be in your corner. Accept that. I'm fortunate. I have some really good family and friends, but I also have some family and friends. I know they're watching from a distance. They hope Coach Camp just disappears tomorrow. That's okay. That's okay, because I'm not doing it for them then. I'm doing it for those that need me to succeed. I'm doing this because I know it matters. I know that it's important. So here it is. How do we get to where we are? Acceptance. We got to accept that we have a purpose. We need to see the possibilities. The possibilities will provide hope. Hope is what drives us. Whenever we have an opportunity, we take it. We take the opportunity to be better. Every time. Don't walk away from it. Even if you're on a reality TV show and you just can't see a way that this is going to work out good for you, just keep going. Just keep going. Sometimes you just need to be successful so that others can see that they can be successful. And all of this brings about validation. And I think that's the bottom line. The imposter syndrome comes in because we don't see ourselves in a way that can be validated. And I think that's why it's so important that you don't get caught up in a single failure or a single moment or a single span of time. You got to keep going, man. You got to keep pushing. These episodes they come and go. The solo episodes, they come and go. It's not always going to be as intense as this one. Sometimes it's going to be a little bit more lighthearted. But man, I had some moments. It was almost like an epiphany. The thing I'd been through and what I realized how important it was. It's everything I just told you. I went through that so that I could share it. It's real, okay? This thing is real. So I'm also facing one other thing, and I'm going to wrap on this. The other thing that I come to terms with as I was out of town was that I'm real good at giving. I am. Haven't been in the military, haven't been a firefighter, paramedic, being a teacher. It's comfortable to give. It's a mindset and it's a personality trait. And every day I get up and I give. And when I was on this thing, one thing I took away from it that I better understand now is that if you really want to have an impact for others, sometimes you need to ask for help. Man, that's not easy. That's not easy for me. It's not easy for anybody in this career field. If you're a doctor, a nurse, police officer, there's just jobs that it's ingrained in you to do for others. That's why they say medical people make the worst patients. They don't want somebody doing something for them. They want to do it themselves. And this has not been any different. This has not been any different. And that was the thing that they told me. They being the judges, they being some of the other contestants. They asked me, what is your goal? And I said, to reach as many people as I can, to have a positive impact, to hopefully influence the next generation so that others will carry the torch forward. And this will be a ripple effect that goes much deeper than Coach Camp could ever dream of. And they said, how are you doing that? And I said, well, I'm being real, authentic. I am trying to lead by example. I try to live the words that I say. And I hope that people see that and feel it. And For those that I was talking to in this group, they said, we do. Now, how are you going to get there? And that was where the record scratched. And I said, what do you mean? How am I going to get there? One step at a time? And they were like, no. They asked me, how am I doing with the business? And I said, floating, doggy pedaling, keeping my head above water. And they said, what are you doing about that? And I said, well, I don't know. We got a commercial, I guess. And they were like, no, people need to understand. If they want to invest in something as important as this, they will. And I said, well, I have a real hard time asking for that. And I do. But the truth is, the bills here are difficult to pay. It's been self-funded the whole time. And they challenged me. So they're going to watch this video. And I accepted their challenge because it pushed me out of my comfort zone. Not comfortable. But the truth is, if you would want to sponsor, we do need it to keep going. In one way or another, God will find a way. I will keep going. But they said, I need you to say this. How can they contribute to your program? And I said, man, you know how to stick it to a fellow, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So this is the proof that I'm doing it. You will see this. To all those folks on the blocks that saw this and we had this conversation, you will see this moment. So I know you're watching. If you would like to be a part of the program, I'm asking that you consider sponsoring or at least a one-time donation. And you can go to @motivatewithcoachcamp.com on Venmo and contribute. So there, I did it. It's not easy. It's not what I want to do. I wish I was rich and never had to ask for that, ever. But how in the world do I lead by example if I don't make myself do the things I don't want to do to prove to others they can too? So I hope that this has been a blessing. I hope that I gave you guys something that you can use in the future. The truth is, I learn and grow every single day from doing this, from doing these speeches and from doing podcasts and from interacting with people. And I have individuals calling me literally from all over the place to tell me and share their stories. And it touches my heart. And it tells me that there is a purpose for this. And it tells me that in the end, it's never been about me. It's always about other people. And it matters. It matters, and it's going to have an impact. So with that, I'm going to wrap. I'm going to wrap this thing up, and I want you guys to tune in. I want you to continue to check things out. I need you to go to the YouTube channel, subscribe to my YouTube, go to my social media. You could go to my website, motivatewithcoachcamp.com. Continue to tune in, continue to watch, and until next time, Coach Camp out.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up, it's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up so I can make a better me. Better believe in your mind, cause it's everything.